Hello everyone and welcome back to Just Finish Coding. This is part 2 of our Tic Tac Toe AI series which we're making on Python. So without further ado, let's get right into it.
Just finished coding.
Now I have to interject here that if you've not watched part 1, please watch it before you come here because as you can see, I'm picking up from where I left off, and for this video to make sense, you need to watch the previous one. I will leave a card for you right here. Please watch the video and then come right back. If you're still here, then I'm going to assume that you've watched part 1, in which case let's continue with our code, and in this video we'll be making sure that when we click on one of the squares, we actually get a valid output. So let's start off by heading over to the square class, and I'm going to make a new method called clicked. So to do that, you just type in def clicked and then you put in a self within those two parentheses. So what we basically are going to do is we're going to enter in two coordinates, okay, an x value, and we'll also be entering in a y value. So once we enter in these two values, this is going to automatically check. We're going to assume here that the turn is a player, and then we're going to check if one of those squares has these coordinates in it. So basically, if there is a square which on which x0 y0 is right at the middle at, just an example, then what we'll do is we will be changing that square's costume, if you want to think about it, into an x, okay, which is I believe this one, so x.png. We'll be switching it to this. I think we called it x image in the form of a variable, so we'll be just switching it to that. Okay, so let's start. So def clicked, and here what we'll be doing is we'll be first of all checking if self.content is equal to just an empty space. If this is not the case, then we know that the square is already full, and in this case, I mean, why would we want to put in an x into a square which has, let's say, already an x or a no? It just makes no sense. So you need to have an equal to, which was the error I had there. And within this if statement, we need to have a couple of other ifs, okay? So we need to also check for a collide point. And to do that, we need to use the rect.collide point, which I just stated. So you can just type in once again, if, okay, so if self.rect.collide point, and you just have to enter in the x and y values here. So xval, comma yval, xval, comma yval, there we go. If this is the case, then we know that xval and yval are within, the rectangle, because this returns either true or false. And if this is the case, if the points are within the rectangle, then what we do is we switch self.content to be whatever turn it is. Now I know we haven't set up the turn variable yet, so I will be doing that right now. So we also need to make sure we use the global of turn, because we're going to use the turn variable elsewhere too, and not just within the class. So let's say global turn at the beginning, and now let me scroll down here. I guess I'll set it up right before we start. I'll just set turn to be equal to x, x as a string initially, okay? So that's it. Here let me go back up once again. So set self.content to turn, and after that what we also need to do is we need to make sure that our board coordinates are updated. Once again, we do not have a board list, which means we need to set it up. So scroll down below, and you can create it, I believe, right after you have your squares list. Let's do it here. You just have to type in board is equal to, and what we need is 10 spaces, okay, in the form of a string. You could type in space comma space comma space, that's perfectly fine, but you could just use a shortcut instead. So have this and then say for I in a range 10. So this itself is going to make sure that we have 10 vacant spaces. Now you may think that we have only 9 squares, so why would we need 10 elements? And the reason is because we want the elements to correspond with the square number, and in case we have only 9 elements in the board, then this first element is not going to correspond to the square number because its index number is going to be 0 and we want the index number to be 1. So we'll just be having 10 elements, but we'll be using only the last 9. So that's basically the simple that's basically what we're going to do. So now let's go back here. Let's make sure that the board is replaced. So let's say board, okay, and after this we need to make sure that the particular element is replaced. So we can't just generally say, replace some element of the board. We need to make sure that the self.number element of the board is replaced. So self.number, there we go. And after this, you replace it with turn. Turn, that's it. And after this, and that's what I was coming to, you check if turn is equal to x and change the image accordingly. So if turn is equal to x, in this case, what I'll do is I will switch the image. So self.image is equal to the x image, okay? And I also need to make sure that the image is resized. So you can say self.image is equal to p.transform.scale, and here we type in self.image followed by the x and y coordinates. So not coordinates in this case, but the width and height. So we already have defined all of that in the last video, so we can just use it. So self.width, comma, self.height. And after this, we just switch the turn to O. So turn is equal to in string O. Let me just deal with this spacing bugs which is showing up. There we go. And here let's have an else statement. So in this case, turn is going to be O, and we'll be using that for the computer as well. I mean, the same method, So let's copy all of this and let's just paste it. Now there are a few changes, so we need to change this to O image, and we can also change turn from O to be X because that's what we will be switching it to. And now we can scroll down. This is where the main stuff is happening. So we do have an update method which is going to update all of this, which is good. But before that, what we need to do is check if something is clicked. And I'm going to do that as an event because it's easier that way. There are alternative ways to do this, but I think this is the easiest. So let's double enter there, and let's have another event set up. So if event.type is equal to, okay, and here you need to use the event p.mouse button down. So this is if we're clicking, and we also need to check if the turn is equal to x, because if the turn is not x, then it's the computer's turn, and we do not want the player to be able to make moves while the computer is playing. So turn has to be x, and if this is the case, then what we can do is, we know that the screen is being clicked, so we can get the x and y positions of the mouse to know where the click is happening. So let's say mx, my is equal to p.mouse.getPos. So this gets the coordinates. We get the x position of the mouse in mx and the y position of the mouse in my. And after this, we can just go through the squares list. I think we have the squares list already set up. So let's have a simple for loop here. So for s in squares, we go through each square and we just check if s.clicked is true. Now we need to enter in the coordinates, so just type in mx, my, and that should be it. So now I'm going to hit the run key and see if this works out. So we have the image, and boom, when we click on the square, we have an X showing up, and the next time we can't do it because here it's the computer's turn. We obviously haven't set up the computer yet. We will do so in the next few videos. But the important thing to realize is that, whenever we click on any square while it's our turn, the square changes into an X image, which was the purpose of this video. If you've enjoyed this video, please make sure to leave a like, and also don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.